Good evening. This is Truth Seeker here, and I've been thinking about making a short video for a while now about my symbol, and I just don't want anybody to misunderstand why I use a pentagram. I realize that the pentagram has connotations that have been associated with the Church of Satan. I have no idea why. Maybe I just haven't researched it, but I'm not sure I understand really all the reasons why a pentagram would be associated with Satanism, or why they would appropriate a pentagram as representing their ideologies. And I've seen uh, atheist, prominent atheist activists who have invited members of the Church of Satan to their channel and interviewed them, and they promote themselves more as humanists and atheists, and but I don't necessarily endorse the idea of adopting the use of an organized church as a means to promote humanism necessarily, especially using the Church of Satan as a means by which to promote humanistic ideas. But that's up to others. I mean, that this is just my opinion. I think that there are a lot of people who will instantly turn their minds off instantly once they hear the term Satan, and won't listen, just won't listen to the positive aspects of atheism, and that an individual can lead a good and moral life without having the Bible dictate the tenets of morality to you. And which morality are you going to use anyway? I mean, there are so many different Christian denominations, and not all of them endorse the same scope of moral values. There's many of them have different ideas of what morals are. Many have different ideas of their values that they've adopted, and I think that morals are somewhat subjective. I think that they change over time. I know that there's a great deal of philosophical discussion over what constitutes morals and whether or not morals are objective or subjective. Um, I'm not really going to make any kind of a statement with regard to that. That's something I think each individual really needs to determine for themselves. And I'm not a philosopher. I'm an engineer. I'm a mathematician. I don't necessarily delve into the realm of philosophy. In fact, I think sometimes those guys can kind of mix things up. I mean, when I listen to Jordan Peterson, I think increasingly I hear a guy that makes absolutely no sense to me, uh, and for some reason he's become insanely popular among a segment of people. But I don't think they really listen to him. I don't think I'm a stupid person, and I have a fairly a good vocabulary. I mean, I can understand, I think a fairly good segment of our vernacular. And I cannot make head nor tails out of what he says sometimes. At first, I thought that this guy might be dangerous, but I don't know. I just think he's a self promoter. I think he's someone out there that knows how to make some money and has done well doing so. Uh, but when it comes down to really anything substantial in terms of something meaningful, I can't find it because whatever he says it just doesn't make sense to me. And it's not because I'm too simple or too dumb to understand the deep things he has to say. I just think the guy uses word salad to keep the issues confused and to keep him from being pinned down. But anyway, I really love mathematics. It's been a love of mine for a long, long time, and especially a branch of mathematics in what they call series and sequences and recurrence mathematics. They're just it's so descriptive, it's so broad, and there's so many beautiful things in mathematics. Mathematics is just a language, an expression of logic, and and you can really use it to understand the workings of nature. They're just so many. It's such a powerful tool in science, in the use of science, and I love it just for the purity of itself. Math is the only subject in which we can make strong statements with regard to truth and falsity. Uh, we have axioms. We can't state that we have absolute understanding of nature and science. We have theories and we have laws of nature, and we have theories that are sets of facts about how nature works. But mathematics, there are some axiomatic truths that we can make very strong statements about. And that's one of the things that I love about it, that there is a truth. And my adoption of the pentad, or it's a circled pentagram, really has something to do more with my love of Fibonacci numbers. And so I put together a little, I don't know, description of why I chose the pentagram as a symbol for my channel, and it really has to deal with the Fibonacci numbers and the golden mean. And so I describe in this little clip what these things are, and I try to do it meticulously. I did find a couple of errors. I did a capture screen video. I found a couple of errors as I went along, so I corrected them. So please forgive me for that. But you can get the idea. I hope I scrolled slowly enough so that you have enough time to be able to follow the mathematics, because I think the mathematics is beautiful. When we talk about truth, I was raised believing, that we had the truth regarding God and the Bible and what God's plan of the ages was. Well, the only real truths that I have come to discover are scientific truths and mathematical truths, and I love mathematics. I love mathematics for its pure logic. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing, beautiful subject. So I hope the following is explanatory enough. and you can follow it. It's not really very difficult. Most of it is within the realm of algebra and basic series and sequences. Um, the Fibonacci sequence, which this clip will describe, and it's a silent clip. You just follow along, read with it, the descriptions. Um, is what they call a recurrence series, and it's something I did mention in the write up that you will see in the following clip. But it's called a recurrence series because the every number in the sequence, it's a recurrence sequence because every number in the sequence is dependent on the two previous numbers in the sequence. That I explained, but the language, that dependency on the prior information in the sequence uh, causes it to be a recurrence sequence, and that's what it's known in mathematical terms as a recurrence sequence. Um, when you're dealing with things like fractals and chaos theory, and you may have heard a little about that. Those are recurrence relationships, and recurrence relationships are used to depict natural geometries. Prior to fractals and prior to chaos theory, we only had Euclidean geometry, circles, triangles, and such, lines. But mountains aren't triangles, and clouds are not circles, and nature is much more complex. It is chaos theory that allows us to mathematically model nature in a very amazingly precise way. And it turns out that this is a recurrence relationship, a branch of recurrence mathematics. So I just wanted to bring that point out in advance of this clip. So, with that, um, I'm going to let it roll, and I hope to some extent you'll enjoy it and at least understand where I'm coming from, why I chose a symbol. It's not anything at all to do with Satanism. Please don't misunderstand. So, anyway, here we go. So I endorsed a couple of books at the end of this little clip, and this is the one, The Golden Ratio by Mario Livio. Mario Livio is a very well-reputed astrophysicist. I believe he's with I think he may be with Goddard, but it's his association is with the Hubble telescope. And the many discoveries about our universe that were made by that amazing scientific instrument. But this is a very interesting book. It does get into some level of mathematics, number theory, some of the mathematics associated with Fibonacci numbers and the golden mean, and how the Greeks, even the ancient Greeks, used the golden mean to proportion their structures. There is a little bit of mathematics. It's not very difficult, but it's pretty cool stuff. He talks about the Elliott wave theory, which was the first predictive theory for the stock market. There we go. I talked about fractals. He talks about fractals with recurrence and the recurrence nature of Fibonacci sequence and the golden mean. And the proportions, the use of the golden number to proportion human body anatomy, and so there's some really cool stuff in this. I highly endorse this book. It's also the book where he identifies Charles Piazzi Smythe as a pyramidion. I just love that line. I think that was on page 55. The other book I mentioned was The Fabulous Fibonacci Numbers. Those are the authors, co-authored. When I first got into Fibonacci numbers 30 some years ago, this is a beautiful book. This is all. It's all so beautiful, but it's not. Please don't be math phobic. This is not hard to understand. It's really quite easy to understand, and the mathematical elements, the golden spiral, and how it can be constructed in a pentagram, and other really cool things. There's actually what they call the Fibonacci paradox, which is in these constructs of the rectangles, and there's some golden spirals, and golden rectangles, and how they can be constructed, and it's beautiful. This is a fantastic book if you're interested in again fractals. If you're interested in mathematics to some extent, these two books are amazing, and there's a heck of a lot more truth there than all 6 volumes of Charles Taze Russell's Studies in the Scriptures. I can tell you that, and it has nothing to do with the Bible or a great plan of the ages. I just noticed here there's an afterword by Herbert Hauptmann, and they note that he is a Nobel laureate, and so he's got a little something to say in the got proofs. They just don't give you the math; they give you some proofs. If anybody's interested, I actually have a write up of my own on Fibonacci. Just put in the comments, and I'll link you to um, a Google site where you can download a copy of my transcript that I put together on Fibonacci numbers. I haven't. I've copyrighted it, but I haven't published it. I've been thinking about publishing it. There's a lot of work that goes into it that has to smooth it out a bit. But it's only about 140 pages of 8.5 by 11 pages. But I think I present the Fibonacci numbers in a fairly simplistic way. So if you're interested, just let me know in the comments, and I'll be glad to link you into where you can get a copy of it. At least it's free. You don't have to pay money as you do with a book, and you know, it'd be an interesting. I think it would be a way of introducing you to the world of Fibonacci numbers in a very simple way. So anyway, this is Truth Seeker here. I've never thanked, but I don't have all that many subscribers, but thank you for listening. I know I'm not the easiest easiest to digest. I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but anyway, I do appreciate. I do have some regulars that make it worth it for me, and anyway, I do appreciate the little support that I do get, and I wish you all the best. So this is Truth Seeker saying good night.